Would have answered sooner, but I had to listen to the speed.
We were doing the same thing. It's almost like we're on time.
It's our hype
It's weird.
music.
Yeah. There's that.
So, Josh, you're
like
sitting
guys
on...
is like, you ready to get excited for the call you're about to start?
Sometimes the tone is more exciting.
So, Josh, you're sitting on top of a Cheez-Its box tonight, and every so often, like, it looks like it's gonna fall over, so you should totally do, like, if it does fall down, you should make, like, the, like, most generic, like, crashing sound ever, like, oh no!
You could do that, or you could do Wilhelm, or you could do, Mr. Bill. Oh no! Exactly, just like that. But yeah, you can do any of those things, or we can start. All right, Mr. Josh, anything exciting happened to you this week?
Well, I mean, I recently started playing Nier. That's good.
Yes. Oh my God,
Yeah.
the platinum fanboy in me is very happy to hear that.
Yeah, I just decided to finally get around to it.
Good.
It's I have to say, around the beginning of the game, like the constant camera angle changes was kind of turning me off.
Yeah, it's a bit.
But otherwise the gameplay's fine.
If you power through that part, it gets a lot better.
And the little shooting scene kind of reminds me. It reminded me a lot of Ikaruga.
Yep, it was actually very much influenced by that. So yeah, very good. I'm glad.
Soundtrack is pretty awesome too.
Yeah. Oh my God, the soundtrack's so good. That is honestly one of the in recent memories one of my most favorite soundtracks I've heard in a game in quite a while for games that came out in the last 5 years. So it's good stuff.
It's been cool. I've maybe clocked about 3 hours on it so far, so I'm still very early in the game.
Did you play any of the other Nier games?
No.
Okay, so there was a constant debate for a while until the game started going, people started beating it more because there's like, what is it? I think there's like 26 possible endings in that game. And now, of course, what I mean by that is there's a few sections where the game can just end prematurely if you do certain actions, like you can be a dumbass, and there's actually an ending / more of a fail state for that, but it actually does have like it counts as an end technically. But anyways, as you get the main endings, though, because there are several main endings that you can get, which is pretty cool, apparently they do reference the old ones. So it's not really mandatory, but Wooly and Pat were talking about it because I think Wooly had been a fan of the Nier series for a while now outside of this one. And he basically talked about, oh no, someone decided to start playing guitar in the other room. I don't think it should pick it up, but there's that. But anyways...
kind of sounded like a lawnmower.
A little bit. It's lawnmower rock.
Nope.
Yeah, but apparently
rock.
it's not mandatory, but it's one of those little bits of if you have played them before, a little bit of a nod to previous content, but nothing that can't be enjoyed without having played them. But it's really good.
Replay on YouTube.
Oh God, yeah, no, but it's really good though. Anything else, sir?
Let's see. During the weekend, my girlfriend never watched the original Street Fighter live action movie, so I had to make her watch it.
Oh no!
Hell yeah, dude!
It was great.
Enlightening. Was she?
Such cringe.
Was she?
I think this is probably the second time I've actually watched it.
Outside of just
I
clips.
watched it long ago when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie's so bad.
It's really bad. But to me...
It's so bad and so good.
Yeah, exactly. To me, that and the original Mortal Kombat are so bad they're good type of things.
I mean, Mortal Kombat is still really good.
I guess what? It was more...
argue that I think the King of Fighters movie is worse than the Street Fighter one.
Oh, absolutely. I think that the King of Fighters one just wasn't redeemable. Like, it's hard to explain because people go to me, well, why do you like the Street Fighter movie if you... think King of Fighters and the DOA movie were bad, but to me, the King of Fighters and DOA movie were bad in a way that I didn't quite find it charming, whereas there was something to Street, whether it was because of the era or whatever, the way they executed it, there was something about the Street Fighter movie that was, as we already stated, so bad that it's good in a way. I personally didn't feel that King of Fighters or DOA had that. Especially DOA. DOA is probably... It was just really bad.
I still haven't seen that one.
Don't. That, and then of course the other one that was really bad was the Street Fighter, the Chun-Li movie. That one's really bad also.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that. I haven't gotten around to watching it, but I've heard that one.
Yeah, it's like, why? They didn't even... I almost would have respected them if they even tried to make it seem like it was in the same vein as the original Street Fighter movie. Like, maybe don't be too try-hardy, ultra purposely retro, bad acting on purpose, because in my experience, that doesn't work. That only works well if you did it and it worked out, right? Like, The Room was the way that The Room is because that's just how it went down. Bad budget, bad acting, Tommy Wiseau trying to be a hero in his own mind, you know. But when people try to do purposely cringy stuff, we've seen many examples where it does not pan out well, and we're like, okay, yikes. Like, please don't do that. But yeah, anything else, Mr. Josh?
Cringe must be au natural. Not too much. Do you have some, I guess you could say it's my thing of the week.
What's up?
I guess kind of sort of related to gaming news since it's from Konami. But there was a so recently there was a they had their little World Championship qualifier over in Berlin, and so finally they decided to kind of give a little something to the YouTubing community because for the most part Konami tends to pretend they don't exist.
Right.
So they had a thing where like they were wanting suggestions on who to invite, and one very notable YouTuber. Simo was suggested and immediately shot down by Konami because it actually turns out that he's on a ban list from them.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not like when another YouTuber got banned because he admitted on a video that he was intentionally wasting the clock, essentially.
Oh, God.
And so he got banned for that, But apparently the reason this guy got banned was, I guess, because he doesn't shill enough for them. Because he'll do product reviews and will be very straightforward, knowing that, you know, it's not a cheap card game. It is expensive, and they release these sets where sometimes the cards aren't really going to be what you want if you want to play competitively. So when he does product reviews, he will be very straightforward that you probably shouldn't buy this. Just, you know, buy your singles online or whatever.
And so, just to reiterate, he's not given anything, right? He's like Consumer Reports. He gets his own stuff and then reviews it.
Exactly. Okay. Any product reviews he does of any Yu-Gi-Oh product from Konami, he is paying out of his own pocket for that.
That's cool, though, because you know what? Like, the tech reviewers I follow, a lot of them all don't... I make sure to follow the ones that... Well, obviously I have to like them, too, but I also do follow the ones that don't take any compensation. For example, when it comes to video game journalists, I really trust Jim Sterling, because since he's self-supported on Patreon, or independently supported, on Patreon, he... Usually, if he doesn't get a review copy, he still buys and plays the game so he can fairly judge it. Or, you know, when he reports on something, he has his own... oh my God, the guitar is getting so loud in the background. Like, I feel like he's just constantly getting louder and louder on purpose. But, anyways, it's one of those things where I always like those entertainers because of the fact that they kind of don't hold back. And whether or not it's in a sense of... You know, it's not really being just to be edgy. It's because they're being brutally honest sometimes. Castle Super Beast, of course, also independently. I mean, they go through sponsorships, but if you hear the way that they deliver those sponsor spots, it's very clear that they don't really cater to just, you know... Because, for example, Elder Scrolls Legends sponsored them for a bit, but their opinions of Bethesda haven't been curbed just because Elder Scrolls Legends was paying them.
Yeah,
I think they lost that sponsorship eventually, but my whole point is they don't alter their... It's nice to follow and listen to people who aren't being given review copies or silence money to curb their opinion, which is always nice.
I am.
But that's cool to hear that he does that, although it's kind of funny how, like you said, they were just instantly like, nope.
Yeah, I mean, Konami is very bad when it comes to their influencers, because a lot of times, again, they just don't seem to acknowledge them very much. Now, he did state that when he was vacationing in Europe, he did get to meet some of the people over at Konami EU, and they were actually very enthusiastic about the work he does. Like, they actually, watch his stuff.
He kind of has a little bit of a fan base within the company.
Yeah, but of course these are decisions from,
corporate.
Top hats
of course.
In, Nihon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of them, like, if they ever do get any type of partnership, it's usually going to be through other outlets like TCG Player, for example. They have a few content creators sponsored, but Konami themselves, not really.
Well, that's cool though.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thing. And otherwise, I guess that was my week. Can't really think of anything else.
Miss Mallory?
My week was pretty good. I had a birthday party on Saturday that I had to go to for my cousin's daughter, which was awesome. She just turned 1. And then last night I went to Austin for a little bit just to get away from here, just to clear my mind. My week was pretty much filled with just, therapy and work. And then, Josh, you're going to find this funny. There was a guy on the corner at the stoplight that I was sitting at, and he is doing nothing but singing Jesus Loves You through a megaphone and pointing at cars.
Josh, he's pointing, after what happened in El Paso and Ohio this past week, he's pointing a gun-shaped object at random cars.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I couldn't help but watch, because at first, he was I thought he was just shouting like they normally do here.
One of those regular crazies.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, I turned down my music, and I was like, what is he pointing? And then I saw it was a megaphone. I was like, why are you doing this in the dark? And it was just, one of the weirdest things. I was like, I definitely, don't want to be at this light anymore. He's seen me, and he's pointed at my car 3 times now.
Oh. That's so awesome.
But yeah, that was my week. That's
that happened every day this week.
Yeah.
Every day.
But other than that, I did get to play a little bit of the Stranger Things mobile game that I downloaded months ago. So I've gotten to play that a little bit, and then the other game I was playing on my phone during work was. Because my job's not too hard, but it's this self-singularity game. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but you start off with amoebas and stuff, and atoms and stuff, and you have to grow the whole universe from it, and it's really cool. Me and my nephew have been playing it, and then I played Lemmings because that came out probably a while ago, but
it's a classic.
I just love Lemmings, so that was pretty much my week. How was your week, Patrick?
It was. I didn't do anything. I kept installing and uninstalling games and then modding them and then not playing them. So the PC life is back, and there's that, the life of just modding and never completing anything. But I am going to start playing games again this week. I do have to record. Well, I have a few episodes that I'm going to record for stuff. My new schedule is going to be the podcast on Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and then, of course, I have my Few Minutes In It series, which is now at a regular slot. It was originally just whenever I could drop them, but now I'm going to be doing them every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So 2 drops a week now. I'm working on a 3rd one eventually, so my schedule is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So what'll likely be is podcast Monday, the series on Wednesday, and I'm probably going to start a long play that'll air on Fridays. So going to start getting busier and busier, but it's nice because you got to grow that channel. You got to get that entertainment out there, and so there's that. So when I say nothing, I more mean nothing to report now, but it is It's
Things
going to develop
works.
into stuff. That's what I'm doing. I took down, for those wondering, my Black Desert Online video because it was bad, and it was very clear from the initial reactions that it was not going to go well. So I will call that missing this week instead of, even though I did technically upload something. It was bad. I recorded it at 3 a.m. with no energy, and I thought that it would be a good idea to play an MMO whenever that was the case, and it wasn't, and it made for a bad video that I had to... the guitar is really distracting.
I really feel like we're in like Bill and Ted right now with this guitar.
Yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, no, I ended up stitching together a really bad video. I compressed the 1 hour worth of footage into like 13 bad minutes of like... It was just not good, which is a shame because Black Desert Online's an okay game. Although I do see why a lot of people have pretty much just spent all the time in the world making their characters and then never actually playing the game, because the game itself is just... It's standard issue MMO shit. I mean, like, it's fine. You know, go run the task, go do the mission, go grind the gear, and then eventually give up on the game and realize how much money you spent on it when it's all over. But aside that, so that's the explanation for what happened to that disappeared video. I don't often delist videos because usually I stand by whatever I dropped on there, but I don't believe that was up to the standard... he stopped playing. That was weird. The standard of quality that I normally hold it to. So now I've took that as a learning lesson to not force shit anymore. Even if I have to miss a week, it's better to do that than to shit something out, essentially. But yeah, alright, so before we get into the news, we are going to start doing plugs at the beginning because statistics show that at this point people are already ready to turn off this episode. Not just on our podcasts, we usually have a pretty good CPM of people getting at least halfway through the episode on average, with about 10% of people finishing every episode from beginning to end. So for those of you who do that, thank you. For those who at least listen halfway, I get it. I mean, the episodes are long sometimes, and not everyone has a good attention span. I mean, that statistic holds true to even bigger ones like Jimquisition, Castle Super Beast, even Joe Rogan. The average listener goes about halfway through before turning it off. So the fact that half of our listeners are hitting that point, it's pretty good. You know, the fact that we're on that, we're getting decent of their time. So before I go on droning about that, you can find all my shit at slimasianentertainment.com and all the current, past, future, present, and every other episode of Disconnected Cast at disconnectedcast.com. Mr. Shiro, where can they find you online?
YouTube at ShiroPlay5. Twitter handle is Joshiro Joestar.
And that's it. And Miss Mallory?
You can find me on Instagram right now at Awesome Maui. You can find me on Twitter at Awesome Maui. And I think that's it for right now.
There you go. All right, getting right into the news. So I unfortunately have to continue stories that have to do with the final topic of last week's podcast, which if you didn't stay that long because it was at the end, let me fill you in. It was about the shootings because at that point they were very fresh events. So of course, what ended up happening after that, we talked about the Texas GOP basically being like, yeah, no, totally video games. He talked about them in the thing. It's I don't know what else it could have been, in his manifesto. He clearly was just talking about the Call of Duties. So, we're investigating what the cause could probably be, but it's probably video games. And Donald Trump, of course, continuing the sentiment, not just blaming just video games, although a lot of the focus was on it. He was talking about basically all these violent media has got to be the thing causing it, not the racism that he talked about in his manifesto, but something to do with that. Unfortunately, because the Don himself and several other right-wing nut jobs are supporting this, several outlets, including Walmart, are starting to give in to the propaganda. Walmart has given out a mandated in-text instructions to their stores to remove any advertising, text, playable demos, etc. that have anything to do with violent video games or anything at all that may be related to the shootings that happened or causing this. So say if there was a Gears 5 ad, they would have been taking that shit down right now. Several employees have stated, anonymously of course, that they have refused to follow these instructions, that the video game sections in their store continue to run as is because they see it as a very bigoted red herring just being thrown out there to kind of, deflect from the true point of what exactly is going on with all this stuff. Now, Unfortunately, because of that, a lot of stores are following these because people, need their jobs, or people, just follow instructions. They do what they're told. The funny thing is, of course, that Walmart has not ceased to sell firearms. So,
Yeah.
the video games though. So that's a thing. If you ever do go by Walmart for whatever reason, you find yourself there, do take note and see if you do notice any noticeable difference in advertising. I don't really, because the ones that I go to nearby don't really advertise video games that heavily, but they are. Kotaku dropped an article recently, kind of not defending Walmart, but saying but basically trying to throw a little bit of light that it does seem to be a market-specific thing, so it doesn't seem like it may be from Walmart corporate as much as it is the regional bosses. That's why some places are doing this and some aren't. So there's that. I mean, there's not much to say other than it's so stupid that we still live in this world where video games are still the scapegoat thing. Jim Sterling dropped a very good video recently talking about how statistically mass shootings pretty much only happen in the States on a regular basis. What are we at now? It's August, and we're at almost... last year we were at 400 something. We're already like there already in August. So it's one of those things where he's talking about how video games are everywhere, but not mass shootings. So that alone should be an easy enough study and statistic to show that the connection isn't really there.
261.
Yeah.
Oh, or 261. Yeah, see, so.
261.
But I don't know. It's just ridiculous that we're still going down this rabbit hole. And I think that the disappointment, I mean, politicians doing it just seems par for the course, but the thing that's disappointing to me is that people are still falling for this. Mm-hmm. And it's just ridiculous. And unfortunately, Walmart, it doesn't just end there. Recently, ESPN is they're delaying the airing of their Apex Legends X Games related tournament, and they're delaying it until mid-October. Now, one of the things, they say that it's due to the it's due out of respect of the shooting, those who are suffering from the shootings. But once again, what happens when it's October and then the mass shootings happen days before the tournament airs? Then you got to push it out to December. Then those shootings happen. Then you push it out to February, and then it's one of those things where it's just like it's clearly just once again them not wanting to divide the audience of. Perhaps their right-wing audience that may be turned off by this thing, or people who may find the relation to the shootings as a thing. They're just trying to save face for those people, but I just don't get it. I mean, I do, but at the same time, it's just like all these companies are so disconnected from society in terms of what really affects it and what doesn't. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, for these politicians, it's mostly just a fucking diversionary talking point rather than needing to actually tackle the actual problem, because you don't want to get rid of that nice, juicy NRA money.
Of course.
So just divert it elsewhere, because, I mean, what was it? It was late 90s, early 2000s when they tried doing that stuff? There was that one, I believe there was a sniper, and they were trying to link it to the fact that the guy played Halo.
Yes.
Even though he's, they specifically found out he got sniping lessons, someone taught him how to use a sniper rifle.
Right, exactly. And, and it's just like, the old war never changes quote, it really, the stupidity of this never changes. They always look for video games as a scapegoat, this guy's manifesto in passing. Oh, in fact, it's kind of funny because if you analyze the quote from the guy, the recent shooter's manifesto, he actually says that he was actually misquoted, in which the manifesto actually says that you shouldn't have your Call of Duty-like fantasies. And then the GOP just doesn't know how to read and flip that, I believe.
Yeah. It was Dan Patrick, I think.
Dan Patrick, that's what it was.
Quote unquote, quote that.
Yeah, and I believe Columbine was also related to not just Marilyn Manson, I believe, but also
Doom.
Doom. There you go. That's what it was at the time, and it's just the same bullshit over and over again. To me, when it comes to politics, there are things where I'm just like, well, this, or well, that. I can see this side, I can see that side. To me, if you have any sort of ability to put A and B together, I don't see how you can really entertain this as an actual, well, perhaps there is an issue underlying the video game industry. And it's just like, to me, there's no real argument here where you can logically put that together. Again, the fact that video games are easily accessible and top selling, even in some places more than here, the only reason it's so much here is because of the population density. But in terms of, pound for pound, people in Japan per person owning more video games than per person here, and mass shootings. Well, obviously guns are hyper illegal there, but still, kind of actually. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Even though that is the case, that kind of brings to my point that this country where guns are illegal to the point of ridiculous consequences, they don't have as many mass shootings. To me, that already, But anyways, we don't want to get too deep into that. But to me, this is one of those things where I don't think that it's a gray area. I just think that it's so blatantly obvious what's, what works and what doesn't. But,
I do kind of want to add a small bit to that. I saw a video from David Dole, YouTube channel, The Rational National, and he showed a graph that actually shows that the consumption of video games are actually higher in Canada than in the United States, but of course mass shootings exponentially higher in the United States.
Absolutely.
Compared to Canada, and and he's just like, yeah, we he's Canadian himself, so he's like, yeah, we're doing this way more than Americans, and yeah, y'all are the ones with the shootings happening. There's no direct correlation at all.
Exactly, and to me, it's just like I said, there are so many bits of politics where I can at least see A's, even if I agree with side B, I can see side A's argument and be like, well, if you're, without bringing a real issue to light, let me just say, if you're so-and-so gender and so-and-so income bracket, it's easier for you to support this than not support it, so I see why you'd want to support it, blah, blah, blah. I can at least say that, you know what I mean? But This is one of those things where, exactly, because of the stuff I was talking about and the stuff Josh was talking about, where all those studies kind of just show the same point over and over again, the fact that Americans aren't even the biggest consumers of video games, yet leads to the thing that video games are being blamed for, is just insane. And the fact that we just go to this every time, like I said, we've been talking about this shit since Columbine and before, and we're still talking about it. Josh talked about that rogue sniper that went off and, did all that shit. And it's just, it's just insane. And the fact that this is, at least in my recent memory, the first time, though, I can see that fucking ESPN and Walmart are even in on this shit, too. To me, this is the first time I can recall, anyways, where big brands like that are just absolutely buying into this too. So
what I think is interesting is, after all of that, I went and read some psychology journals, because I'm all about that. And they've done a 25-year study that it doesn't prove, it's just a theory, but that it's not video games causing this. It's more like your family dynamic. It's more mental health issues. It's more the fact that we just, instead of trying to fix a problem, we put people on prescription pills that interact with their brain chemistry.
That has a lot to do with it too.
So I was reading it, and one of the doctors, I'll have to find her name for you guys, she was writing about it, and she was saying that basically if we want to single out one root cause, maybe we should look at, mental health as far as that, or look at the fact that so many people in America are so depressed or so anxious as compared to other countries, which I thought was pretty cool. But then you have, the bigger companies like Walmart, and then you have the people who are putting out The Hunt that's not going to be released until September, because they decided that it was too violent for right now, which I do agree with some of it. Like, right after something like this, they have pulled a bunch of movies that came out.
Or delayed releases.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting to see, but, I mean, I've also read so much about the whole psychology behind it that it's really stupid to keep blaming video games when, you literally, I don't know how everybody else plays, but I play, in my house, by myself, and I've never felt the need to go and hurt people due to it. Like, I have my cat on my lap, and we just kind of chill. Or I play with my family. We had LAN parties when I was younger, and we all just had, like, a great time. Yeah, we were kind of mean to each other when we would, shoot each other, but that's just, like, what we did.
Right.
But none of us...
But you never associated the virtual shooting with the, feeling compelled to imitate it in real life.
No.
And I think that that's what it has a lot to do with it, and I'm not, disclaimer, I'm not even close to relating what happened recently and saying it's the same thing as the example I'm about to give, other than we were talking about delayed releases or altered releases, is like when 9/11 happened. I could at least understand then why some things were delayed or postponed. I at least get that, where this is just... That was such a immense, not, again, like I said, not saying that this is any less of a tragedy. It's just that the magnitude of that one, I saw the correlation to why people felt to at least push that out, and I didn't think it was due to political agenda or it was just due to sensitivity, I think, whereas this one is to kind of push this agenda and stuff like that. But I don't want to dwell on that for too long. It's just one of those things where it's just really, I guess I'm just really disappointed in people kind of just falling for the same old wool over the eyes yet again.
I feel like it's that whole, like, against the nerds thing.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, and I don't understand how you can pick, like, out of the manifesto, if you read it, I read all 4 pages that were released, and there was so much more in there. There was more, like, environmental issues and, like, social issues and stuff like that, that, like, let's not blanket statement this. And,
right.
So, I mean, it's kind of weird to see the backlash of all of this. But
and, like,
I am loving all the memes that are coming from it. Like,
I thought, okay, I misunderstood what the memes were about. Now I know what you mean. The memes are about the political side of things.
It's
not
like
okay.
People sitting there playing video games, and it's like, I'm not violent, I'm tired.
Right. Yeah, there's that.
Or this guy's sitting there.
You can have the Post Malone tattoo. What is it? The tattoo on his face, always tired, or some shit like that. I think that's something we can all relate with now.
It was really interesting. Or a guy sitting at his computer and at a cafe, and he's got, like, his dog, and he's like, never once did I think about hurting anybody. I just really like my dog. I was like, oh my god.
So, like we said, it's the reasons these things happen is due to other issues. And then of course, like Josh was saying, the reason all these fucked up, like, just bullshit red herring defenses come out is all about money. NRA, lots of money there. Simple as that. Yeah, that's it. It's just one of those things where I just felt that needs to be addressed to just show how these corporations are Me Tooing the fucking whole thing yet again, and it's just like, they always do this shit. It's like, the whole joke behind, hey, we support the gays for a month.
Yeah.
That type of thing all over again. So, it's whatever. Speaking of a corporation that I do support, Discord recently announced... Wow, that's a fucking massive tone jump. Anyways, Discord recently announced that they will be adding a streaming-esque service to their platform. Now, when people first heard this, the types of people who read headlines and then scroll past but get into big heated debates on stuff even though they didn't actually read the article... what it is, it's a feature called Go Live. And what it allows you to do is in your server of choice, I'm in 100 of them, in whatever server you're talking to at the time, it's going to be an addition, at least on PC, I don't see how this would work on mobile. It's an addition that you can use when you're on PC. And in a voice channel, you can stream your gameplay up to 10 people in that voice channel, in that Discord. And the whole point of it is not meant to compete with stuff like Mixer or Twitch or anything like that. What it is it's supposed to, Discord is all about hanging out with your friends, right? I don't even use Discord for video game stuff. I do for all my K-pop stuff, actually. I manage a lot of stuff on there, and then we discuss, K-pop and all that stuff, and that's actually what I use Discord for. And, still, what it does allow, though, for us who do game on there also in our channels, it's supposed to give you the at your house or on the couch with your buddies type of vibe, and that's the point of Discord's new feature that they're trying to implement. It's supposed to be, again, you and up to,
like a LAN party almost.
I forgot if it's you and 9 or you plus 10. I forgot if you count as one of the 10 people, but But yeah, so that's what it is. It's supposed to be a, hey guys, look, I'm fucking going to be streaming Gary's mod. Let's see what stupid, fucking gross, racist shit's on here that's not really that funny. It's still as disgusting as that game was, 10 years ago. And stuff like that, or say your friend is... This is my favorite thing to show people games about, is my friends who have no idea about Yakuza and Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Several people I know that had aren't familiar with the Yakuza series at all. Actually, one of them for sure did, and one of the other ones is considering picking up a copy of Judgment because they saw me streaming it.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like, could be good for that. But again, that's what they want. They want you to be able to play with your friends as if your friends are there with you, because now they can. It's as if they're looking at your TV. They can, you're streaming. You can watch them and just talk like you normally do, because we voice chat a lot on Discord. Anyways, so it's just another little feature, and I think it's really cool. I think it's smart not to compete with all the fucking streaming platforms that are out there already, because just between YouTube, Mixer, and even Mixer's, I have a thing about that too. But between Twitch and YouTube, there's already enough competition out there that it's cool that they're doing something more unique to the service itself, because Discord has done so much for me in my life in terms of connecting me with a lot of people that I've met in my communities, that it's really great. It's almost like back in the chat room fucking AIM days, but the fucking, but now, I think I first started using Discord not even that long ago, 2017, I want to say, beginning of 2017. So I haven't been using it for that long, but it's connected me with a lot of awesome people, content creators, and it's been good for me. And I'm happy to see them expand. I've been a Nitro subscriber for like 2 years now, so glad to support them when I can. But it's interesting to see them get in on this, because they already started their own game store. They're almost like their Steam Lite-esque kind of service of running your games and getting your games through Discord directly. So it's interesting. It's nice to see them try this stuff.
Yeah, you can put little shortcuts on there and whatnot.
Yes, correct. So it's really cool. The only thing I was going to say about Mixer, because we didn't talk about it last time, but first of all, who the fuck uses Mixer, right? And then Ninja recently signed that deal. And to me, the ability to show how Fortnite can just... how big it is right now, even though I don't get it because, the age.
Yeah.
It's amazing because Ninja reported... because when Ninja announced that he was signing an exclusive deal with them, money, obviously, because they paid him huge bucks. Microsoft is fucking...
Oh, yeah.
There's
no other way you're going to get somebody to completely move over their entire streaming platform,
exactly.
platform.
Absolutely.
Unless you get a good payout of it.
Mm-hmm. But the thing that amazed me is how many actual fans Ninja has, because to me this was also what that would prove, is how many people actually give a fuck about Ninja, right? Because unless you really do, you just wave goodbye to him and you stay on Twitch and you keep watching on Twitch someone else because, whatever, right? His Mixer debut was higher than his peak Twitch view.
Wow.
I don't think that many people have used Mixer before, period.
Mm-mm.
People just don't. I stream on there because I have fucking Restream, so I just stream everywhere. Exposure. But I don't care for the platform. It's not a very good one. I'm just be blunt. It's just not a well put together one. I'd rather use Twitch or YouTube Gaming. It just makes a lot more sense. But that's just crazy. Of course, what a lot of people think is that Ninja didn't just sign the deal for Fortnite bucks, obviously, because that's more beneficial to Epic, but more so that he's probably going to have to / start playing more Microsoft titles when Halo drops their next installment, and then whenever, whatever the fuck else Microsoft bankrolls. It basically, now they have a figurehead of a guy who clearly brought people to the platform.
Yeah.
So it's a very sound investment, it seems, in their eyes. I just couldn't believe it. I really thought that he was going to just go there and some people were going to watch him and Microsoft was going to spend a lot of money on him and that would be it. But when I saw the numbers he drew in, I was just like, that's impressive. That means the dude's got actual, at least, we'll see if he's a flash in the pan and we'll see if he's still relevant in a year or two. But at this moment, he proved that people are actually there to watch him, and so be it. But yeah, no, I found that very interesting. I was going to wrap on that. But what about you, Josh? So the Discord Go Live thing, is that something you see yourself using? Or is that something that's not really in your type of streaming use in terms of, do you stream intimately with friends? Have you ever had a friend use that share play feature or even just watch you on PlayStation locally stream your game?
PlayStation locally, no. But that might be interesting because currently, like, I mostly use Discord for fighting games.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of communities will have bots set up so that if you are streaming, the bot will put up the notification stating, "Hey, so and so is streaming on Twitch. Here's the link." So that might be kind of interesting, especially if you're just kind of chatting on the Discord and say somebody's asking questions about a character, somebody could be like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm actually labbing right now, so why don't I just turn this on?"
Exactly.
So,
I see it very useful for that.
I think that could be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think it is very smart of Discord to not just try to be the next Twitch, because they probably won't be. They were able to kill Skype and what was that other one that people were using? They wanted me to use it when we were playing League all the time. There you go. Yeah, Ventrilo and whatever else. Like, Discord in my opinion, perfected the blend of Skype with a forum. Because that's essentially what it is. You know, you have a forum-esque group element with the ability to voice chat. And the voice chat servers work. I don't know how well they record, but they do work pretty well. I mean, I voice chat a lot on there, and we all sound fine. So,
I just personally hate when the quality kind of like just drops for whatever reason.
Yeah, it
like
can.
It
talking
can, and then just gets quiet and like.
Yeah, it can be odd, but there's that.
I'm glad they recently added the folders though.
Yeah, that's useful. Like I said, I'm capped out at all 100 servers, so trust me, that came into
Yeah, I've been playing them. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my Soul Calibur character ones in here. I'm gonna put my Mortal Kombat servers in here.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very nice for the organizing person. Instead of having a long ass line of fucking shit. Like, now to be fair, I'm not even active in that many. Just half of those are emote servers that I made, but or use. But that's what that is. I'm not really active in that many. I mean, I'm like maybe active in like 15 Discords, which to a lot of people is still a lot. But there's that. New Pokemon and forms were announced in a recent video. Before we get started on this news, I was originally going to cut it because my interest is waning, but then I had to realize the fact that we are a news source, so we do have to be fair and report on stuff like I report on Fortnite even though I don't play it. Where do you guys stand on Sword and Shield so far? Is the fact that you can't use your whole back catalog a deterrent, or are you like probably going to check it out anyways? What about you, Josh?
I mean, I'm not super excited for the game.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have a Switch still, if I had a Switch,
if you did,
I mean, yeah, I would play it. So my mentality is I would play it. I'm not exactly excited for the game, but I see myself playing it.
And does the lack of interest though has nothing to do with the not being able to access all the Pokemon, right? Or does that bother you?
I got mixed feelings because one of the favorite things that I love about Pokemon is, once you're done with the game, it's like, okay, I'm going to transfer the Pokemon that I use in my old game and bring them over so I can still rock with them.
Right.
You're not going to really be able to do that with this one, like, unless it's in their Pokedex, like, you're kind of SOL.
Yep,
so
that's true.
That is a bit of a bummer. But I wouldn't say that's the main turn-off.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's what I was curious about. I was wondering because there are a lot of people out there who are like, I'm actually, fuck this game, I'm boycotting it. There are actually some people who are getting, like, that kind of upset about it. So, I was just curious.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I think the thing with Pokemon is that it seems like it's so hard to spark that excitement because I kind of hate where there's certain features about one game that's pretty good, and then they decide to not really bring it back.
Yes. Oh, God, there's a hilarious
I really liked
chart
in
of that.
XY that you can customize your character,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked it more in Sun and Moon where you have more freedom to change how your character looks, and then I don't even know if they're doing that with this one.
They're not.
Like, all the characters kind of look the same.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, yeah, I don't know if they're going to let you customize your trainer in this one. So, yeah, I don't know. And then, of course, I mean, you can only keep making new ones so often. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Because I was gonna say is like my interest is as I mentioned in the group chat, is waning, and that's why I almost didn't want to really talk about it. And it sucks because I wouldn't say that I'm in a similar boat to you, maybe for different reasons, but I'm in a similar boat as you, where I'm like, I don't dislike Pokemon. Pokemon's still like, for example, when I watched Detective Pikachu, it gave me feels. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the scene with all the Bulbasaurs and shit like that. It was great. And so my love for Pokemon still exists somewhere. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a fucking 151 elitist, although I do still think that was probably the best generation, if not maybe the ones that were added in Gold and Silver. But yeah, there's something about it. And I like the setting. The new graphics have been nice. Sun and Moon was cool. But there's I agree. There's something about it where I'm just like, I don't know if it's video game fatigue, and there's so many games coming out where I'm just like, sorry, Pokemon, I just don't got time for you no more. I can't even get to the other games I want to play. I want to say that probably has something to do with it, as well as, again, the fact that they keep bringing in and removing these new features. It kind of does make you feel like, almost like you're wasting your time in a way, in the sense that it's not really going to be forwards compatible. And I think that the even though it doesn't bother me too much, I can understand why people who can't get all their Pokemon in there would be upset, because again, it's yet another feature, and in this case, a very major feature missing once again from another installment. So
or sometimes they'll just add something that's just really weird. Like in Sun and Moon, they add the island for the Poke Beans, and I was like, I'm not having fun doing this. Like,
yeah, for sure. It's not like when we had hideouts and Poffins.
Oh, the hideouts were fun.
That was just fucking the best, dude. Holy shit, yeah. If they could do the Pokemon the way it looks now and then bring back hideouts, please, dude. Even if it was just fucking Pokemon Hideout, I would still be fucking down to play that shit. What about you, Miss Mallory? Where do you stand on your state of Pokemon love or lack thereof?
I will probably always love Pokemon. It really was like one of the best games I ever played when I was a kid. It was fun, especially because we had the cord and everything where you could do the glitch and everything.
God, this is why Nintendo doesn't have cloud saves.
But, I definitely, just looking at it, like, I'll play it. It's kind of like how I take Star Wars at this moment, is like, it's not the old Star Wars and it's not the old Pokemon, so I'm okay with playing it as it's a different new game. Mm-hmm. But it's just like the Star Wars movies. Like, I loved the original 3, and then they kind of lost me. So I'll play it because I love Pokemon, but it's not the same game as it was. And, yeah, they keep, like, adding things and then taking it out, and then it's never the same game. So, I mean, I'm excited. All my friends are getting it. My family's getting it. So we'll be able to do that again. But it kind of does rub me the wrong way that I can't get all my Pokemon. Because that's like one of my favorite things to do is search for all of the Pokemon and get them. So it's going to be a little weird not getting those Pokemon.
So you brought up a thing which I like to bring up to people, and I've had this argument a million times with people, which is the experience that you have with a game doesn't make it a good game, right? Like, so my friends and I had a fun time with Destiny, but Destiny is a hollow shell of a game that was extremely blah, and it was But most of my fun I had with it was more so the experience. I can have a fun experience with fucking Heavy Rain or any David Cage game, and then it would be the experience that I enjoyed more. That didn't inherently make the game very good.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me of that, where I feel like some people will be playing Pokemon, but the fun is more to be had with friends than it is the game itself being inherently good. And it'll be interesting to see if it will be a good game or if it's going to be a good experience to have with your friends. So we'll see. They announced the Galarian forms. I'm sure this isn't going to be just all of them, but just like the Alolan forms, they showed the Galarian forms of Weezing, who looks fucking weird and has those fucking the Simpsons like the nuke towers on the fucking toxic towers
pretty much the fossil fuel industry.
Yeah, exactly. Zigzagoon, because that's what everyone wanted, was a Zigzagoon form, a Galarian form. Then you have Linoone, and
then it evolves into that new one,
Obstagoon. Yeah, which is funny enough. Gene Simmons took notice of this, so when I saw that article, I was just like, "Oh God." Gene Simmons sues Nintendo and Game Freak, but that actually wasn't the case for once. Gene Simmons just did say that, and it obviously is a Kiss fucking reference. I mean, the tongue and everything, like, it's clearly a Gene Simmons reference. And he did say he was flattered. He said that his kids absolutely love Pokemon, so he said that it's really cool that his kid's favorite franchise has a reference and a nod to not just Kiss, but particularly his character. So I thought it was cool. I was also really surprised he really didn't threaten to sue them. I honestly, no joke, thought I was going to open the article to read about Gene Simmons starts lawsuit with Pokemon. Yeah. But thankfully he didn't, and he just said, it's cool. I get the reference. I understood that reference, and then he moved on. So that's good. They introduced one of the new Pokemon who are going to have several modes. I've always found these Pokemon with different forms / modes a little interesting. But it's going to be more Pico. A little bit of a weird one. They had one called the form called Belly Mode, and then they look a certain way, and then the other one Hangry Mode. So there's that. I was more interested in that the goth girl Maureen, because even though I make fun of Hot Topic all day and I will cringe at goth raves all day, I'm still a mark for goth girls in anime, and because of that, I thought that her design was just. She reminds me a little bit of like the one from Danganronpa with the drill hair, like very remotely. Just goth hair, obviously. Just goth chick, rather, obviously. But the one where I watched that trailer and I was just like, yikes, was the new villains, Team Yell. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I thought Team Skull, at least Team Skull was stupid and memey. Like, Team Skull was dumb as fuck. But the cringe was at least somewhat enjoyable. This just looked bad. It was just fat dudes yelling. And that was like, hopefully there's more to them, but I was just like, Oh. I didn't really get into like with Team Skull's cringe rap and their skull beanies and shit like that. It's just like, yeah, you fucking assholes.
Is it too much to just bring back Team Rocket?
I know, right? It's basically at that point where it's just like, no, it is too much. Josh, I mean, Shiro.
Shiro, I think we should just play Pokemon Let's Go.
You know what? Actually, I'll be honest. I had more fun playing Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu than I have a Pokemon game in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably since Emerald and Ruby and Sapphire, because they mixed your typical Pokemon mainline gameplay with Pokemon Go. And I actually enjoyed the casualness of catching Pokemon by just tossing the balls and using the berries to get them, as opposed to fucking having to battle, break it down to 1 HP. Although there were some specific battles where you do that still. You mixed both the combat with the catching, but most of it was just tossing the Pokeballs. And playing it with that little Pokemon ball, the Pokeball peripheral is amazing. It feels so good. That's one I honestly would suggest. If your love, not just you, Shiro, but just in general, for people whose love have died for Pokemon, I would really advise getting Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu, because to me it simplified it to the point where that brought at least the fun back from the original experience a little bit, with a bit of a modern twist.
I have to say, I also liked the 2-player mode that you could do.
Oh, right, yeah, you could join, drop in, drop out.
Me and my nephew would play, and instead of just being like 1 versus 1... or 1 versus 3 on the NPC side, you could play 2 versus 1 or 2 versus 3, and it was a lot more fun. I mean, it's a little wonky, the mechanic, but it was fun for us. So I definitely had a lot more fun playing Let's Go than probably any other Pokemon game other than like Red versus
Blue.
Yep, that one.
That was the one.
Red, Blue, and Yellow. Sorry, I was watching Red versus Blue earlier.
There you go.
Oh.
Red versus Blue. Good times. Good freaking times. But,
good memories with that.
Yeah, for real. Speaking of stuff that isn't Halo, Reddit user, you recently used a heat map tracking program to analyze over 120,000 Apex Legend matches to find out where the most popular drop zones are. That's nuts. But what I was going to say is, I've always found the thing about competitive gaming is the amount of dedication and learning it takes. Even though it is a bit different, it made me think of like fucking FGC people. You know, I listened to fucking what was essentially EvoCast. The last episode of Castle Super Beast was basically Wooly talking about Evo for 2 hours. which honestly, if I let ours run on, it probably would have been 2 hours of that also. But it was one of those things where I've always found that really cool, like to the point where people are nuts that they do study frame data or they like learn every single combo and parry and dodge, third, like the really pro third strike players and stuff like that. It's amazing. I think that the dedication that people have to their certain scene, whether it's a shooter, a MOBA, a fighting game, or what have you, the lengths that people go to get good, essentially. I've always really, really respected that. Josh, to you in the FGC, and I know it's going to be different because every fighting game is a bit different. What to you is a couple of examples, at least a couple of stuff that fighting game people do to get that edge or that next level, like dedication, as opposed to just sitting in training mode for a couple hours?
Well, interesting question. Like, rather than just... Well, I mean, obviously the most important thing is just to play. Like, some people will just grind matches with people.
Yeah, which is good.
You can only sit in training mode for so long.
Of course.
They'll grind matches a lot. Not too many people have kind of told me what their regimens are.
Okay. I was just curious if there was any insight.
And of course, it's communication, too. If you're
That's what I'm here
playing
for.
sets with somebody, you have to share what's going on. You're not going to improve if both of you are just like quiet about what you're doing and stuff like that. Like, sadly, you're going to have to tell somebody how to beat your shit.
Right. Unless you're an asshole, that is eventually a thing among friends, at least. Sorry, we were laughing because the Google Home was talking to you while you were talking. For some reason, it thought you were talking to her.
It scared the crap
So
out
it
of
scared
me.
Mallory really bad because she just screamed out of nowhere. But
no, the AI is becoming sentient.
It's becoming sentient. It heard our conversations about video games. But
And it was perfect because you were like, you two can't be quiet about like learning the games, and I like couldn't stop laughing. I was like, I'm trying to be quiet.
But yeah, there's that. But yeah, no, that's cool. Because like I said, I know that I've heard people who are like, oh man, I study all sorts of frame data for for this game and this game I made, and I'm just like,
I mean, frame data is not going to get you everywhere.
That's true. You got to be able to do it or practice or put into practice.
Yeah, like NRS players are obsessed with frame data. I mean, people have been playing fighting games before frame data was readily available.
Correct.
They just learned what moves gave you advantage on block or not, and they would do it the hard way where someone would block the attack and then they're both holding up to see who's going to jump first.
Right.
And that was the old method of doing it. So frame data is only going to get you so far, and another thing too is that frame data is not always accurate because a move can say, oh, on block this is -4, so it's not safe. But if it has pushback, it's safe because they're not going to have a quick attack that's going to have the range, sometimes.
Right, so so basically people who are obsessed with frame data don't always necessarily have as much of an advantage as one might think one would get from studying that type of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. One example was in Injustice 2, Supergirl has a down 3. It's a crouching move where it's a sweep, essentially. So if it hits, you just fall. And it's a low attack, and I think the startup was like 9 frames. But the animation of the attack is that she's crouching, and she's using she's just blowing really hard, like an ice breath kind of thing. So it trips you. But because of the hurt box on it was so weird, because it's just a weird breath attack, there are some instances where she can stuff a string with a 7-frame gap with this 9-frame move.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So it's like, good luck reading that shit.
Yeah, like I remember I would talk to people on that game, and I'm just like, yeah, there's this move that sometimes acts like a 6-frame, even though it's a 9.
Huh, that's interesting. But very much, that's a great example because it drives home your point of, you can't just study shit. Sometimes you just got to go do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as cheesy as this is, but like, I don't know if you remember the old Pokemon cartoon where Ash finds that one Scyther trainer and all he cares about is his stupid computer and the data on it.
Yeah, basically that's what it reminds me of.
It's literally that. Like, it is literally that. Like, sometimes you just gotta forget the data. Like, it's good to know.
Yeah, it won't hurt you to know.
It's not always going to be applicable. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't just rely on it. Absolutely. Moving on, we had Splinter Cell brought up again. We talked about before. John and I talked about it, and then we talked about it briefly about how Splinter Cell was teased a while back, and then the guy was just like, lol, just kidding. And then Ubisoft was like, yeah, lol, just kidding. And then whatever. But anyways, Yves Guillemot is back at it again and brought up Splinter Cell again in China recently at a conference and was talking about the work that's being put in, what he's stuff, he can't talk about it yet, but there is progress. However, ever since the recent announcement of, I forgot what the other VR one is, there's 2 Tom Clancy VRs coming out, one of them is Splinter Cell, it seems more often than not that he is probably referencing the VR game. Mm-hmm. Because one, he said he's already talking about it, that it's clearly in the middle of development, which the new Splinter Cell is. Mm-hmm. The VR one is, and not anything else, but one thing that the article highlighted that I found very interesting was that there hasn't been a new Splinter Cell game since 2013. And unlike most franchises who either go on hiatus or die due to bad performance, the Splinter Cell franchise as a whole has never really dropped... people bought Splinter Cell, each one basically. At least fans of the series that were fairly consistent numbers, that it definitely wasn't due to the last one being a flop or anything. In fact, Blacklist did higher than Double Agent or Conviction, I believe. So they actually ended on a higher note than if they had ended it sooner. I believe the peak was still Chaos Theory, but I mean, come on, Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory still looks better than some games coming out nowadays. I'm not even using hyperbole when I say that. It's a fantastic looking game still. But anyways, yeah, so people did find it kind of odd that Splinter Cell hasn't had a new proper entry in so long, especially considering, again, that the game hasn't done shit and that Ubisoft isn't doing anything better anyways. So there was that. DuckTales Remastered. So we're reporting on this just because of when our podcast comes out. It's going to be a little too late for y'all, for those who didn't get it, but I already own it on a few platforms, so there's that. If you did not pick up DuckTales Remastered, well, now you can't. Ever again. Because, once again, Capcom has lost the license. So the license for DuckTales Remastered has expired, and it died on 8/8. If you did not pick up the game before August 8th of this year, so a few days ago, no more. DuckTales Remastered is no longer readily available unless you can find a hard copy, just like Josh's not so irrational fear of owning everything physical. Because guess what, Josh? This is yet another good example of why you should.
Yeah, I bet that game is going to rocket in price now.
Absolutely. And it's a great game, too. DuckTales Remastered is fucking fantastic.
There's one on eBay for $250.
Already, see? Yep. So it's already begun. Yeah, so there's that. Telltale, speaking of dead companies and losing stuff, not that Capcom's dead, but, there's that. Telltale, through, I believe, Skyrocket Games is the name of the company that's going to be dropping this, because Telltale's obviously no more. They're going to be dropping the Walking Dead Definitive Edition. Now, I have mixed feelings about this. If the people who were fucked hard by Telltale are getting paid for this project, and if it's that team that was maybe given an extra job before they're officially let go, I'm happy with that. I still feel bad for those who aren't part of the Walking Dead team, because they were pretty much the only ones that were given a slightly extended contract if this is the case. Yeah. However, if this is just a cash grab, fuck the people working on this game, honestly. There was no clear news on that's why my sleuthing didn't lead to any clear ends, but it is being published by a group called Skyrocket Games, and they are the ones who also cleaned it up a bit, so we'll see. Again, if this is a legitimate release that is at least, whether it's royalties or back pay that Telltale, or formerly Telltale, are paying the people who are fucked over by this, then I'm supportive of this. If not, do not buy this game. So I'll report further on this whenever that details are more clear. But it'll be coming out September 10th. It will be including the complete 3 seasons plus the Michonne spinoff. It will feature visual and performance tweaks and upgrades, which is good because, as we all know, the Telltale engine did not age well. No. I will never forget Wolf Among Us. I played complete playthrough twice on PC and once on PlayStation 3. And when I played on PlayStation 3, it ran so bad that the very first time I booted it up, it just like hung up and crashed in the very first scene. Like,
I still need to finish that game.
Oh, it's so fucking good. I love fucking.
Because remember we were recording it. We
were
4 episodes.
We were. I would, man. Maybe
we
if
never
we
finished the last one.
Yeah, maybe if we set up a fucking thing over Discord or something, we could actually record the final playthrough of that. That'd be nice. Finally finish the LP years later.
I don't even think I ever uploaded that 4th episode. I think, because there was that error and we would have to re-record it all over again.
Oh yeah, I didn't record our audio. That's right. Oh well, now it's been long enough that I honestly wouldn't even mind. But
yeah, maybe someday we'll just stream it on Twitch or something.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be the easiest way, honestly. But yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, no, like legit. When I first played Wolf Among Us on PS3, it got to the title card and just stayed there forever. Like the audio started going on, and the visual was just stuck on the title card. But anyways, yeah, Telltale Games not necessarily known for the best QA when it came to the actual performance of the game, but the games were fun. There's a reason they did last as long as they did. In fact, they only died because of mismanagement, not necessarily because the game started being bad. They just weren't. They were just spending more than they were making.
I mean, they got good. They got a hold of good properties that people would buy them, like Batman, Guardians of the Galaxy, Borderlands,
and even Game of Thrones.
Everybody was reaching out to them. Yeah, Game of Thrones.
And then the canceled ones was the canceled ones were Wolf Among Us Season 2. Fucking shit, that's the one I'm really upset about. And then another, or rather, an Avengers one too was another one. So. There were a few other ones. I think another Game of Thrones one, which I think would have got canceled anyways because of the performance of the last season. But it's one of those things where, yeah, it's a shame because I had, a lot of fond memories of Telltale. Sam and Max. I mean, I go back to like fucking, all that. Monkey Island.
Oh, Sam and Max games were hilarious.
Oh, they were so funny, and they were good. The Jurassic Park ones, the Back to the Future ones, even the one everyone forgets about, the Star Runner Strong Bad one. So. Yeah. There were a lot of good ones. Like you said, they got great properties and made memorable stories and moments through what was, at the time they started the company, a unique experience at first. There were so many would-bes and have-beens since then, but Telltale was pretty much the originator of the style in terms of the mainstream market anyways. Maybe there was some indie company who did it before them, but especially going back to Monkey Island in like the fucking late 80s, like they were one of the first ones to really do it. So, rest in peace, Telltale. And again, if this ends up being good, it is nice that the performance and everything will be tweaked up because it could use a bump in that. I've only beat the first 2 seasons of Walking Dead. I never did the 400 days nonsense or the final 3rd season. So, and I didn't care enough about the Michonne one to do it. But it was fine. They were good though. They were really good, and it was interesting seeing what's her face grow up. Clementine, yeah. And seeing her mature and then have to make some tough decisions that lead in and all that stuff. So it's good stuff. Going back to Apex Legends, because for some reason I didn't put this next to each other, they're going to do a very interesting thing. As you know, at the moment, Apex Legends is a multiplayer game, that's it. They do have an event coming out called the Iron Crowns Collection that will be live between the 13th to the 27th and is going to feature a solo mode. Kind of like when Overwatch first started doing NPCs versus the players in their events. It seems like Apex is going to try something a little bit similar because as many people forget, there is a narrative in Apex Legends. And they're going to use it as a way to try out doing a solo mode, maybe develop it in progress as it goes while still feeding you some lore, and also if it sucks they can just pull it. So that's good. Now it is Respawn, so they did a good job. Titanfall had a cool campaign, so I mean if I have anyone to have faith in, I have faith in them, so we'll see. They did admit that one of the main things that they're hoping to do with it also is to pull players that they have lost because Apex isn't quite at the apex that it was when it first came out. So it naturally happens. It happened with Destiny. I fell off. Taken King was amazing and drew me back. I mean, it's a thing. It happens. These long-term games, even very successful games like WoW and Final Fantasy XIV, guess what? They have their dips in player bases. They just do. It's just the name of the game. People aren't all able to dedicate themselves or stick with a game that demands that much all the time. So We'll see. We'll see. Good. Apex is good, so they haven't totally ruined the game, other than the season pass being nonsense and shitty. But that's not shitty. That's not fair to say. It just didn't give you much. If there's one thing Fortnite does well, it's their battle pass. One of the brilliant things they did, I don't think I talked about this with you guys. I think it was John that I talked about this with, but the way that Fortnite gets you is, so you have your battle pass, which allows you to, every time you level up, you get a certain loot box or certain rewards. That's like $10 a month or whatever. But what they do to pull you in, so say you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to get the battle passes, I just don't need anything. What they do is they have a thing where you can see, to your level of whatever season you're at, you can see everything you would have got if you had bought the season pass and still get it retroactively.
Okay.
So now you're all the way up to like the second to last level or the last level or whatever, and you're like, God damn, those are some good drops. Fuck it, I'm gonna get the battle pass. This is too good for me to pass up. Imagine if in Overwatch you just decided not to get you didn't pay to get those loot boxes, but they had a tool where you could see if you spent $20 on loot boxes, what you would have got, and you can gauge whether or not it would have been worth spending that $20 or whatever. Interesting mechanic, because the way Fortnite sees it, you were either A, not going to buy it anyways, so what's the harm in showing you, and then B, if they show you, you'll probably buy the battle pass. So it's it's a brilliant, I don't know, I think it's good I think it's an interesting marketing thing. It's clearly to prey on people who have no self-control like me, because if I saw that shit, I would totally get into it and buy it. But it's interesting that they did that. So I don't know. Did you? I just realized I've been doing all the talking. I don't think you guys got into Apex. Is actually the reason I just forwent that conversation. But Apex Legends, you guys none? Apex, just to make it so people are clear. I didn't. Okay, see. So for those of you who were like, "Wow, Patrick's just running his mouth, skipping through," I only did that because I knew they didn't play fucking Apex Legends. And then Josh and I talked about Walking Dead. Okay, fine. Mallory, did you play Walking Dead, Telltale?
I played a few Telltale games. I really liked them. I just didn't stay. That's when I fell off of gaming for a while. So, I think I played the first Walking Dead one. I really enjoyed Telltale, but like I said, I fell off of gaming for a while, and just now getting back into it again. Where I actually have time to do it and not just working all over the time. And
did either of you guys pick or you can't pick it up anymore, so that's a false question. Did any of you guys play or own DuckTales Remastered?
I watched gameplay.
I never got around to it, unfortunately.
Do you own it, Josh, at least, or you just never did at all?
No, I don't think so. If I did, it's probably on my Steam, and I don't see it.
Yeah, when I opened up my Steam list today and I saw all 827 games, I said, fuck me. Yeah, what am I? Yeah, 827. That's what I'm up to now. God damn it. I've maybe booted up a fraction of that. But guess what? With this series, with my a few minutes in it series, it's perfect cannon fodder for that. So there you go. All right, before we get into the final topic, you can talk to us about it as well as expressing your concerns on it. Anything you've talked up to this point. At disconnectedcastmail@gmail.com. Once again, that's disconnectedcastmail@gmail.com. The main topic today we're going to talk about is whether or not, how much shit is an okay amount of shit to give a company for taking a deal, whether it be exclusivity, which is in the case of this, or otherwise. So, a developer of a game called the Ooblets. I don't really know much of the game because the game... Now, hopefully this got support and exposure for people who had never heard of the game before, like myself. But the developers for Ooblets were actually attacked for taking an Epic Games exclusive deal. Now, even though I'm not a fan of the Epic Games launcher or anything like that, and I do think it's a little scummy how they're trying to post-buy Kickstarter stuff like Shenmue 3 and stuff like that. That aside, I really gotta give them hats off to taking such a small share versus Steam of indie developers' bankroll. I think that AAA companies have no right, or they can do whatever they want. They have all the right, I suppose. But I just don't. I think it's scummy and clearly just about money when they do take an Epic exclusive deal. But for indie developers who sell on Epic, I don't blame them because Epic only takes a 12% share as opposed to Steam's 20% share. So I can't blame them. And this is a case where an indie dev was like, yo, I like getting paid to do what I do. I like doing this as a living. I need to, you know what I mean? So they're selling, they took the Epic Games deal and they get their, extra money on top of a low share of income from when they sell their games on Epic. Basically, they were just attacked with racial comments, all sorts of excessive harassment on social media. Not that any sort of harassment is acceptable at all, but I mean, it was getting to the point of ridiculousness. In fact, one of the things that caused this to become a major story and sparked a lot of people going like, those of you who are upset about this crossed the line extremely. First of all, I think this is so beyond anything to give anyone, even a AAA developer, about taking a deal. It's business. That's what it is, But basically, the event that sparked this into a major event was someone faked screenshots of the developer saying anti-Semitic remarks. There was a fake quote showing the developer's alleged Twitter tweeting that all the gamers that are mad about this should just go into a gas chamber and do themselves a favor. Now, that's not verbatim, but that's essentially what the quote said, though, is that, gamers need to go in a gas chamber and kill themselves, basically. Very convincing looking Photoshop. And that started going around. Well, guess what? That got heat, and then the devs got even more shit for something they didn't even do. And, I don't know. Josh, how do you feel about exclusivity sometimes? Whether it's Sony getting an exclusive game, or Microsoft getting an exclusive game, or in this case, Epic getting stuff like Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds, Shenmue 3, now, this game, and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's really as big of a deal as people are making it? And, how do you feel about this kind of thing where it's blowing up into full-blown threats and harassment?
Yeah, it is kind of weird because it's hard to try to compare the Epic and Steam exclusivity versus, Sony and Microsoft, because that is two separate pieces of hardware, right? And then, Epic and Steam, it's the same hardware, it's just a fucking program, and then, I guess, what was the last time? You needed Steam in order to launch...
Oh, yeah, with Tetris Effect, yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so, it's, really hard to try to compare to the two.
Absolutely, it's true.
I mean, I definitely know that the Epic exclusivity can be a turn-off, because I remember before I even knew about the Randy Pitchford crap, when I found out Borderlands 3 was going to be Epic exclusive, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's just on Steam, and it's just convenient for me that way. But, when... I think you mentioned, it's different that... but I've heard, Epic is kind of dishing out the big bucks to these indie devs.
They are, yep.
So, I don't know, it's...
For going exclusive...
I don't think it really should have escalated that much, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. No, for going exclusive, they get a hefty cash lump sum up front, and then they still get to have the 12%. They still get 88% of their profits as anyone else does by selling on the Epic Store. They just also get that bonus for going exclusive with them as well. So
yeah, I mean, it's a good deal. You can't really fault them for not doing that. I mean,
absolutely.
There's other ways to express, your dislike of these practices. Rather
absolutely,
than
I'm gonna boycott Borderlands 3. Like I said, at most I'm gonna rent a GameFly or Redbox review to use as a review copy, and that's it. Randy Pitchford has just gone over the line too many times, and I just don't want to support Gearbox because of that. And I really hate the mentality of, wow, your boycott isn't going to do anything anyways, because guess what? Mine alone won't. But if everyone that supposedly hates Epic Game Store as much as I'm trying, or for me it's more Gearbox than Epic, but if people are disgusted with Randy Pitchford and their practices, and if the hundreds and even thousands of people who are really turned off by his handling of everything and the way Gearbox has just been fucking over employees, if we all boycotted it like I'm going to, and several other people are going to, it really would have made a difference. If even a few thousand people didn't buy the game, that's a fair chunk of money that would have been missing from them. But unfortunately...
It definitely would have at least given a message out.
Exactly, because unfortunately a lot of people are just like, what's yours going to do? Well, mine won't do fuck all for them. That's just $60 they're losing. They don't care. But 60 times a few thousand would have been, like you said, at least send a message. it wouldn't fucking, bury them, but it certainly would have been like, oh wow, that really shit. Okay, no, maybe we shouldn't be pieces of shit, But I hate the mentality of not even, why even try? You're no one.
Mm-hmm.
Why even try? I hate that mentality so much because it's just like, this is the problem. But
Yeah.
But anyways, going back into it though, the other thing you were saying is that this definitely escalated too much. Like, this is far beyond what I think should be acceptable in any distaste. Even if you were a fan of the Ooblets and you're upset about this, that's just too much. Like, turning someone into an anti-Semitic scumbag, which the guy actually did talk about how he is of Jewish background anyway, so he found it extra offensive. It's just the internet, man. I just never, like, why do we have to escalate it so far? Like, why can't you just do your little Borderlands protest? Why can't you just cry about it like everyone else does on Twitter? Like, the amount, and same thing with death threats. Like, whenever these games come out and then they're not very good or whatever, or they drop whatever decision they decide to make, and people go just like to death threats, it's just like, really? Like, over a fucking video game? Like, that's any harassment is unnecessary, but I really do feel bad for these developers, this particular incident, because the Epic Game Store sucks. It ain't that bad. It's not like they're a bunch of known misogynists like Riot Games or known fucking, pieces of shit like Randy Pitchford, and then this happened. Not that would have made it any better, but I'd at least be like, well, I mean, he is a piece of shit. But at least
there's some slight justification,
I guess, exactly. Yeah, very, 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 hyperbolic. Yeah, very, very hyperbolic in my saying that's justified. Of course, I don't really mean that it's justified per se, but I can at least see where the fury's coming from. But this one is just some innocent devs who made a financial business decision and paid, unfortunately, at least in terms of social media, paid heavily for it. It sucks. Like, I don't think that anyone ever deserves this, I mean, fucking, even for Sekiro, people were just getting so bent out of shape. Like, I get it. FromSoft has a thing that they do. It's difficult games, and I understand, whether people stand on the, we're not getting into that per se, but my whole thing is there's still a thing where, like, people who are just like, wow, this game is shitty, or they were making all sorts of belligerent or excessive remarks because it didn't have an easy mode. That's also unnecessary. It's just like, let it, I don't know. But anyways, Miss Mallory, what do you think about the entire Ooblets situation?
I honestly think this is, like, really upsetting. Just because apparently the people who put it out, it's just two people in this indie studio. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're working with what they have. They have a Patreon. They're doing what they can, and it's just two people, It's not like...
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that is the other thing. It got to the point where their Patreon, a clone Patreon to steal money from them, was created.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it escalated there. Like, fucking shit, man, is it that bad? Like, fuck.
It's so disgusting. Like, I get not wanting a game to go exclusive, but at the same time, like, they're small. They're so small. They're two people.
They're two
like,
people.
they obviously love the game, and they're upset that it's going to go exclusive. But the thing is, like, they did what any developer would have done, though.
It's a business decision.
Yeah, so it's like if I decided to, sell something that was great, and then everybody got mad at me for it. Guess what? Like, I need to keep my lights on.
Maybe they should push towards policies that will help game developers.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of fucking trying to deface them and steal money from them.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's so sad. Like...
Yeah, and that's gotta be...
that should be like a happy moment.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
You should be like high-fiving and opening champagne for the first time. Like, or, cracking open like whatever drink you want, but...
Now,
celebrating it.
To address the elephant in the room, just because I know... I wasn't going to say this, but I know if I don't say something now, I'm going to hear about it later, is that I understand they have a Patreon, and some of these upset people probably supported their Patreon, which led to this game being developed, so on and so forth. I still don't think that justifies this behavior.
No, it doesn't. Like, it's...
Because you're going to have those people who will be like, we were stolen from. You're calling them innocent, but we were stolen from. We supported their Patreon, and then they took this deal. Fuck them. And it's just like, okay, I can understand being upset by the little bit. Come on, this is still too much.
Yeah, you also have to realize Patreon's going to have to get their cut, too. I mean...
Which apparently
they're
Patreon
not
takes...
entirely getting your dollar.
And you know what? I didn't know that... I know Kickstarter has a pretty big cut, but I think Patreon takes a decent chunk, too, from what I understand. So, yeah, exactly. It's not like these guys were making... Yeah,
but I mean,
that
how
much
many
on it.
people do we support that have a Patreon and then they go and sell to a bigger company, like management companies for YouTubers? And you don't
That's true.
really
They
you don't
have that
hear
third-party agency
as
you don't
much
hear about.
backlash about it because you're like, yay, my YouTuber got there. Or, you know, the people who developed even littler games than this Ooblets game, which actually looks really fun.
It looks interesting, yeah.
It looks like a really good mashup between...
Again, the only silver lining I can see about all this is the fact that they did get exposure for better or worse, and, like, I'm at least aware of this game now, and I may check it out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, if anything, I hope that they picked up a few people to support them that heard about this story and then check it out from there.
Like, honestly, I think I might play it.
It would honestly... What it would be like, because you mentioned, you know, trying to equate it to, like, if you had invented something and then you sold it to sell it to a bigger company to distribute for you or whatever, right?
But
it
isn't
would
that what you think about doing? Like,
an example for you, for example, what you're trying to do is that imagine if you were streaming on YouTube Games, Mixer, and Twitch, and then Twitch offered you a deal and you became a Twitch partner. Now you're only able to stream on Twitch because Twitch is very strict about that once you become a partner. That would be like people just all of a sudden harassing you. You're not on YouTube Games anymore. Fuck you. You're a fucking racist and like all this like insane shit.
Well,
just
clearly
because
you don't know me, but I mean, I get it. Like, I definitely like had my share of the whole cyberbully thing, and you know, all of that is pretty disgusting. Like, I'd much rather people tell me it's my face. Like, please don't. But I mean, I'd much rather handle it right then and there than get 100 messages or 1,000 messages that, I mean, and I take it very much like, you don't know me personally, so you can say whatever you want. I'm probably not going to listen to it and continue to do what I'm doing anyways. But I think we're growing up into a world where people are sitting behind their computers now and they feel like they can say whatever they want whenever they want.
Right.
And not take responsibility for their actions.
They of course, you know, not to get too hard into that side of things, but the other thing that doesn't help is the fact that there aren't really any stable laws that defend anyone on social media and harassment there either, right? It's like, we all have freedom of speech, right? But you can only publish certain things that isn't direct slander or defamation. There are still ways that freedom of speech has a workaround, or you can get in trouble for your freedom of speech if you take too many liberties towards it. Unfortunately, online, the areas there are a little gray. It's like how fair use law on YouTube and video game law is very vague right now because there are instances where people have been fucked over in either of those creative markets because of the lack of laws that support and then at that point it just becomes who has the better law, who can spin the bullshit better basically at that point. But yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about what happened to these devs. I hope that, you know, this shit stops and that people realize that honestly none of this is worth it, and hopefully that it doesn't affect them at all negatively in terms of their success, because again, it's just two people just living out their dream, and it ended up just becoming a nightmare where they were just constantly, their phone was going off, oh, Twitter ping this, Twitter ping that, message back, message this, DM that, and just opening it to just bullshit. When you're, like you said, you just signed this big deal, it was supposed to be an exciting thing, you know, and but the good thing is, they did say that they don't regret taking the deal. They said that it'll help them support the game and support their future projects. So there's no regrets. They have no plans on reneging on the deal, even though they can't anyways, not legally. But they did say that they're sticking to their guns and that they don't regret it for a moment, despite all the controversy. So I don't know. It's just the internet being the internet, but I don't think that makes it any easier to digest.
Question
What's
fast that? Is like, so the thought process of the people who are getting upset, do they think like, because I don't understand how that works. Like, do they think that they have like an owning share in this, or that they should have just gone like on their own? So
to simplify it as best as possible is you kind of do because you put money towards it technically, right? So you could see yourself as a shareholder essentially, right? But there's a big difference between the way they did it, where they're, again, just an indie couple, not even, well, they're not really a couple, that's not what I meant, but they're a one man, one woman, I think?
Yeah,
or
one
whatever.
man, one woman
team. That was just getting funding for this game that they did not promise would be on any platform, any specific platform.
Okay.
They just decided that the platform would be that. So although that may be true that the people who supported them on Patreon or otherwise did technically help them do this, there was no outright promise, right?
Okay.
It's not like Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
It's not like Shenmue 3, which, again, we've beat this dead horse, but received 4 independent large backings, did Kickstarter twice, and then on top of that, announced this 5 years ago that it was on PC going to be through Steam. Reneged the deal, and then took an Epic Games exclusive deal for more money to be their 4th bankroll.
Okay.
Their 5th if you count both Kickstarters. That is fucked up because you, first of all, unnecessarily kickstarted that game because Sony, Deep Silver, and Epic were going to pay for it anyways at that point. But on top of that, now you lied.
Yeah.
There's people who are arguing, well, Epic Games didn't exist at the time, so what else were they going to do? They couldn't have not promised that back in the day. But the thing is, doesn't matter. It was promised, right?
Yeah.
So to pull this bullshit that they did, now that is fucked up. And in that sense, I think, especially depending on how much you spent, because some of the Shenmue tiers were big, that I feel like you have a right to feel like you're part owner of that. Especially if you did one of the few $100 or few $1,000 tiers, which people did for Shenmue. Because that shit got funded within hours. I think it was within 5 hours of it being announced. Their millions of dollar goal got met. And then they did another one because more money. I don't know. To me, when people try to bring that as an example, because there are some people who, of course, tried to equate both together, that is two completely different things, in my opinion. I think if you analyze the facts on both sides, that's not even a question of it being the same thing or not. But again, so that's how that works essentially.
Okay.
So but because the thing with the Kickstarter for Shenmue 3 also is you bought a copy of the game essentially, unless you did like the $1 tier just to throw money at it for no reasons. If you did any of the tiers that did have the game, you also did pre-order the game. You pre-ordered it thinking it was going to be on Steam. So, there's that. It's not like we're the Patreon where you just knew that you were helping these people make a game you found interesting and you were giving them money towards it.
Yeah,
then they
I'm
made
looking at
this
their
call.
Patreon right
so,
now.
yeah. But yeah, it got so fucked up. And like I said, the fact that that someone went through and even faked the Patreon to steal some of their patrons basically they like created it. It looked very similar, looked very believable. Where like the fake ones were like, oh yeah, we had to make a new one for whatever reason. And of course, unfortunately, naive or overly supportive people were just like, oh, no problem. Let's just hop my pledges over. So. That's also super illegal, by the way. So whoever did that, fuck you. You're gonna get fucked anyways because that is hyper illegal. So it doesn't matter if you ended up collecting the money or if Patreon shut that down before you could. But yeah, there's that. But anyways, that is that. Another episode in the pan. We did plug, so I don't know what we do at the end anymore. Do we just say goodbye? Is that it?
I guess we just say bye.
We just say bye, right?
Hey, Josh, what do we do? You're the mastermind. Let us know.
You're the Dalek sitting on the Cheez-Its box.
And you didn't fall over once. I'm so happy.
All right, guys. Bye. See you next week.
So confused now.